Hi, I'm Mark Vernarelli, and welcome to Inside Harford County, a program where we sit down with our community leaders and discuss the issues important to the citizens of Harford County. In the heart of Bel Air sits a mansion built by a man whose influence shaped modern medicine, Dr. Howard Kelly, one of the 4 founders of Johns Hopkins Medical College. His summer home, the Liriodendron, has transformed from a private retreat into a public treasure, an elegant venue, an artistic haven, and a peaceful green space for the entire community. Guide us through its rich past and present. We're joined today by John Streett, the Liriodendron Foundation Board, and Harford County Executive Bob Cassilly. Thank you both for being here today.
Good to see you again, Mark.
Great to be. I know you don't go all the way back to the 1890s like the mansion does, but you do go far enough back to remember the place before it was a public property, right?
Yeah, so I grew up just about 2 blocks from the house, and it's sits in 100 acres of beautiful lush fields. So you can imagine it was the haunting grounds for many a young child throughout the center of Bel Air. I remember, having coffee with old Miss Kelly in her kitchen, it's really had a presence throughout the town. You get the street signs in around the mansion house are named for folks associated with the Kelly family. The Bolton Street, Atwood Street, Kelly Street all come from the Kelly family tree. So it's an integral part of it.
And how did it become a county property and a county park?
Yeah, so it was at about 1981, Jonathan, is that right? Yeah.
81 is when Fritz passed away. 77 is when it was acquired by the county.
The county took possession of it. We got an excellent deal with the Kelly family. It's one of those families, and we're fortunate in Harford County. We had a number of prominent families like the Kelly family who really pretty much gave us, or at a very low price, sold us some key properties. We get the Davis family on Oakington Peninsula, the Kenny family on Oakington Peninsula, where Swan Harbor is now. The Graham family gave us the Emily Bayless Graham Park over in Abington. So we're very fortunate to have had this kind of participation and a love for the community. And this property, it's 100 acres. It's, for folks who aren't familiar, if you go to the head of the Ma and Pa Trail and they're in Bel Air, you just walked onto that property. And the trail winds around the mansion house at the top of the big hill. That's where the Liriodendron sits. It's just a beautiful home.
And John, you actually grew up with this because your mother started the foundation,
My
right?
mother started the foundation. I grew up 2 doors down the street from the Liriodendron Foundation. So when I was a child, I would run up, and Fritz and Peggy were the last people who lived there, were actively living there, driving around in their old Willys Jeep, and you'd help them with their gardens. And when you walked into the house, it was something like you'd never seen before. There was the stuffed parrots, and there was the Texas Longhorns, and there was the snakeskins that were 23 feet long, and you had the stuffed monkeys, 2-masted schooners called the Fiddler's Green, and things that you just were beyond what your realm normally saw in the town of Bel Air. And that's when I had decided, well, it's a big world out there, maybe I should go out and explore it. And that's kind of what led me to go to, I went to Maine Maritime Academy, and then I ended up working at sea for 17 years playing sea captain.
Wow.
So
now you're back, and
somewhat
back.
Somewhat back, but I still work in shipping, and we run a large portion of a shipping company in Baltimore.
Let's find out a little bit more about this fantastic property from the executive director, Kathy Dermott.
Hi, my name is Kathy Dermott. I am the executive director here at the Liriodendron in Bel Air, Maryland. The mansion was built in 1898. It was the summer home for Dr. Howard Atwood Kelly, his wife Letitia, and their 9 children. The mansion is owned by Harford County government, but it is operated by a nonprofit foundation. The mansion is part of Heavenly Waters Park here in Bel Air, the town of Bel Air. We are standing here in our main hall. The dining room as well as the music room is adjacent. The space here lends itself to special events. We host all types of things, for instance, a birthday celebration, a networking event, a meeting, or we're privileged to be the venue for a wedding as well. We were just recently voted last year as Baltimore's best wedding venue. So please come out and take a visit here and see the lovely architecture Some of the furniture is original. For instance, the chandelier in our music room is an original part of the mansion. The portraits that are in the dining room, one of Dr. Kelly as well as Letitia. The portrait of Letitia was actually done by Dr. Kelly's great-granddaughter, Judith Coates. We are, again, privileged to have this local gem here in our community to enjoy.
Absolutely beautiful property. Let's go around the corner now and take a look at another beautiful place, and that's the museum room.
We are standing here in what we call the museum room. The Liriodendron has a museum space, it has event space, and it also has gallery space. But here in the museum room tells us a little bit about Dr. Kelly. He was one of the 4 founding physicians of Johns Hopkins University and Medical Center. He was a frontier to women's gynecological care and wellness. He was an inventor. He invented what they call the Kelly clamp, which is used in every operating room still today. He was the first physician to ever perform a cesarean where the mother and child both lived. So again, this museum room kind of tells a story about Dr. Kelly, his wife Letitia a little bit, and his life here. This was his summer home for them to enjoy. Life being a physician was very difficult. And living in the city, his wife didn't really enjoy that too much for the summertime with 9 children. So that's where the Liriodendron became founded. He built this space here. The museum room has a portrait of the 4 founding physicians of Johns Hopkins University and Medical Center. It also has 2 lovely fireplaces. The mansion does have 13 fireplaces here in the mansion. 3 have been converted to gas. Why we have 13 fireplaces in a summer home, haven't figured that one out, but we enjoy them immensely. Just the architectural design is very, very beautiful to observe.
Wow. Upstairs, there's also a public art gallery and has rotating exhibits of local artists, which is really cool. Let's go back to Mr. Mott for more about that.
We are here in one of our 3 gallery rooms. Today we are showcasing Eric Gordon's hook and rug display. Eric has spent hours preparing these rugs for us to enjoy and the community to enjoy. Hook and rug is a very unique talent and skill set. There are groups and clubs from all over that are coming to visit and to see this type of work. This is just one type of exhibit that we do here at the mansion. We are privileged to have Susan Tobin, who is our curator that solicits and gets these types of artists here at the mansion. Susan used to work at Walter's Art Gallery, so she has an eye for this talent. We change an exhibit about every month and a half to 2 months. The exhibits actually, sometimes they attract visitors from Philadelphia, DC, Virginia, all over, because they're just so unique. We also have local artists that have such a skill set. We hosted John Sowers, who has his work for many, many years displayed here in the community as well as out of state. Joan Hodes is another well-established artist. Her work is just phenomenal here, showcased here in Maryland as well as in Florida. So we encourage you to visit our website to see what is going to be showcased next, so you don't miss out and see local talent or talent from abroad that's brought here locally here in Bel Air.
And you heard Mr. Mott say earlier that it's become a dream wedding venue for a lot of couples. Let's walk down the aisle right now and find out more about the name Liriodendron.
And this is where the magic happens. We are standing in front of the Liriodendron with this amazing wisteria that took years and years to grow, and it is a beautiful backdrop for your wedding or your special event. We have visitors coming from all over just to take notice of this wisteria. Wisteria blooms just for a short period of time, from mid-April through mid-May, if we're lucky. It's really contingent on the weather, but it is magical when it does. It has a beautiful canopy that people dine under here. The grounds are stunning. People either use the backdrop of the mansion for their ceremony, or the trees, the gardens out there are stunning as well. Liriodendron actually means tulip poplar. There are several tulip poplar trees around on the grounds, and they are unique to find here in Maryland. But they also bloom late spring, midsummer. We have the architectural design at the mansion is just very unique. We have these two porticos. On a wedding day, it is the party spot out here on the portico. People just have such a good time dancing typically on the right side of the mansion. People come and enjoy the grounds for photography. We have visitors with their pets, their friends, their family, cocktail time. People bring high tops out here just to enjoy the grounds on their wedding day or special events. There is endless opportunity to book events here at the mansion where you can embrace all the amenities, or if we are not hosting an event, it is very nice to be able to just have a picnic dinner with your family here on the grounds. So we just ask to check with us and our availability so you can come out and have a little serenity here at the Liriodendron.
The latest wedding addition there as a wedding venue is the Kelly Salon, and that's where the bridal parties get ready for the big day.
We are here in what we call the Kelly Salon. The Kelly Salon is a great new amenity to the Liriodendron mansion. The Kelly Salon offers a beautiful Zen morning to our brides. It has space to accommodate small bridal parties as well as those larger bridal parties that sometimes feel a little crammed in some smaller spaces. But this space offers a full kitchen, a place that you can hang your wedding dress. It has a dining area, a separate dining area. So there is definitely space here to relax and just get ready for that big moment down the aisle. What you do here is you arrive 4 to 5 hours prior to your arriving at the mansion. And then at 3 o'clock, you leave here and you go, just like you left the salon, you leave and you go straight to the mansion, and where you get to enjoy the bridal suite that we have there to put your dress on, and that has more of a vintage feel. So you get best of both worlds. You can add this option to your wedding package, or you can just be exclusively at the mansion, or you can have both. So there's several options to consider. The Liriodendron does approximately 70 plus weddings a year, and this space here has a great back patio area where you can have your morning coffee with your girls, a little mimosa, just to relax and just count the moments before that big celebration.
And John, all of this we can trace back to a brilliant medical career for Dr. Kelly, right?
That's correct. Dr. Kelly actually was born in New Jersey, but he then ended up over in Philadelphia. He was there because his father joined the 118th Pennsylvania during the Civil War, and his father ended up being a prisoner of war there. But Dr. Kelly was amazing in the things he invented, as you said, the Kelly clamp. He used radium to cure the first woman with gynecological cancer. He came up with 2 guys from Shepherd Pratt post-traumatic stress disorder, which was diagnosed in 1917. He spoke and read 5 languages, including ancient Greek. When he passed away, he donated 64,000 volumes to Johns Hopkins, including 1 copy of the Hippocratic Oath. We know what he did because he kept a journal every day of his life, and there's 43.5 feet of them down at Johns Hopkins. Wow. If you ever want to go down and find out exactly what he did on what.
Wow, and gynecology itself was not a separate practice in those days, correct?
Gynecology was not. He initially went to Johns Hopkins, University of Pennsylvania. He went all the way through without first he went for botany. When he got out of school from that, his father said, well, that's very nice. Now what are you going to do for a living? Because studying weeds and seeds is not going to get you very far. So he then went back to medical school. He got within 3 months of graduating, and he had a nervous breakdown. His father was so proud. So he drops out of medical school. He goes up with a guy named James J. Rothrock to the northern part of Pennsylvania, starts trying to open a camp for boys. That didn't work out so well, but he did learn many tricks up there. Then he decided to go out west and become a cowboy. When he goes out west to become a cowboy, he decides he's going to drive cattle from Colorado Springs to Grizzly Gulch, Oregon. Again, Mom and Dad were very proud. While he's driving cattle to all the way up to Oregon, turns out that he ends up having to deliver 16 babies because he was the closest thing to a doctor that they had ever seen. And at the end of the drive, he says, if I'm going to do this for free, I'm going to go back to college and get finish my education, which he did. So he went back and he finished the last semester or so with that, and things went from there. When he got out of college, he thought he'd take a little walkabout, so he went over to Europe briefly. And when he went over to Europe, he ran into a few people. One was named Madame Curie, another one was named Florence Nightingale, and he traveled throughout the circuit over there, and he learned many, many things.
But he also came up with other things that you don't hear as much about or that we take for granted. A couple other things.
Correct. He came up with the Kelly clamp. He came up with the Kelly stitch, which was for women with incontinence. He also was the first guy to start rolling patients around during surgery. It was an unheard of profession. He also had learned when he went to Europe that, according to Florence Nightingale, you shouldn't be wearing a suit into the operating room like they did back in the day. So he started dressing in white clothes, and when he did that, some of the patients were taken a little back because he walked into one lady's room in the Kensington Hospital for Women, which he had started, and the lady said that he asked the most impertinent, that the cook was just in here and asking the most impertinent questions.
The cook.
And the reality is it was Dr. Kelly just having come from his surgery.
Wow. And Mr. Cassilly, we don't think about it a lot, but Harford County is a pioneering area for modern medicine.
Oh, absolutely. Dr. John Archer, who's actually a relative of mine, was the first medical school graduate educated in the colony. And he was a signer of the Bush Declaration and a member of Congress, and also a father of five doctors. And there's a great historical marker, if folks want to read more, just off right at 22 and Thomas Run Road, right by Harford Community College, that talks about Medical Hall, the home there. Pretty prominent guy.
Fantastic, man. I can't even comprehend all the things that he did. He also, John, didn't he have a hand in the, I guess, the continuation of the Army-Navy football game?
Well, during World War I, all these young gentlemen were coming back from World War I, and they had been gassed, and they came into Fort McHenry, which was U.S. Army Receiving Hospital number 2. And that's very nice. They stuffed 3,200 soldiers into Fort McHenry. And the Surgeon General called Kelly and asked him if he could go down there and figure out what he could do to improve the conditions. And he said, you need to build a hospital. They said, well, we're in the middle of a world war and we're not going to build it. And he said, well, it's not a choice, you have to. So he always, if he felt strongly about something, he would not take no for an answer. So he then called the parents in of all these young folks, and they staged what was called the Homewood Games. He thought it was a good idea to pitch Army against Navy in different activities, whether it's javelin throwing or grenade tossing or whatever. And this actually went on for 2.5 weeks, what's now Fells Point and Broadway and that whole area. And they all raised money with this, and it was wrapped up with the Army-Navy Homewood football game on the Johns Hopkins campus. It's the only year that the Army-Navy did not have their own game, so he staged the game on the Homewood campus at Johns Hopkins, and they managed to raise $86,000. And that $86,000 he put towards, he donated 200 acres of his own property down on the Severn River, which is now Severna Park, and they built the first convalescent hospital for wounded soldiers, and that was called Camp Purnell. He knew he didn't have enough money to do it with the $86,000, so he advertised for volunteers. And so he advertised in the Trouble Buster, the News American, the Baltimore Sun, etc., and he ended up with a tremendous number of plumbers, electricians, and carpenters, and he built it with volunteers. We have photos of them rolling in their cars with all the materials, and they built the first convalescent hospital. It lasted 5.5 years.
Wow, truly remarkable man. But aside from his medical prowess, as you mentioned earlier, he traveled the world. He was a naturalist, a preservationist. What else did he do besides medicine?
Well, besides medicine, he actually he loved reptiles. He loved snakes. He loved all sorts of things. He actually wrote Reptiles of Maryland, Snakes of Maryland. And he also always had a snake in his pocket whenever people would come to visit, just to scare them a little bit. He purchased 43,000 acres of the Everglades to help preserve that. A small portion of that was finally returned from the Kelly family back in Apocrypha, Florida, A-P-A-K-A, Apocrypha, Florida, and that is an underground river that comes to the surface and it puts out 10,000 gallons of fresh water a minute, and that's the water source for that sort of for Florida. And he purchased it because he wanted to save it from future improvement.
Wow.
He had a lot to do with snake bite antivenoms because he would let a snake bite an orange, then bite him, and then he would figure out what the difference was in his blood before and after, and that's how they developed the antivenoms. Rattlesnake.
Truly brilliant, brilliant man.
He traveled up into Canada quite a bit, and the family still has 1,600 acres up there called the Camp that they all go to every year. So he would always take many people from Hopkins up to the camp, and they would be absolutely amazed. And at that point, we still have photos of him when there was Indians on this ground making birch bark canoes and things for kids when they were, 8, 10 years old.
Wow. And I would imagine in the circles in which he ran, he came across a lot of well-known, famous people.
He did, and he had a signature book collection, and he always asked them for their signatures. So he knew the presidents, he knew the senators, he knew all the people of the day, and they were always very happy to meet him as well because he had changed the face of medical history, literally changed the face. As you had heard Kathy earlier say, when he got back from Europe, he still had to do his internship in a place called Kensington, just north of Philadelphia. When he was doing that, he had a office there, and he would sleep in the office, and he would tie a string on his toe and put it up out the window, and if you needed him in the middle of the night, you pulled the bell, it pulled his toe, and it woke him up. So one evening, a lady and her daughter showed up, who was pregnant and had a double Frank breech. The child was upside down and backwards. They had been to 3 other physicians. They all turned him down because in that day, that was an absolute death sentence. And he said, well, we already know what the outcome would be here if I do nothing, so we're going to make best efforts. So he delivered the first baby in the United States where the mother and child lived by cesarean section. And that gave him the nickname the Kensington Colt. These people were very well healed, and they then set him up with 6 rooms in their mansion. That became the start of the Kensington Hospital for Women. And by the time he was 29, he had a 500-bed facility for the Kensington Hospital for Women. It was one of the few in the entire United States.
Mr. Cassilly, we've talked about your family going back generations in Harford County. I know you're really proud of the Liriodendron and of the history involved in it.
Yeah, it's a fantastic history, and I, as Jonathan made clear, this is a family that we can all be very proud of, that they spent so much of their time in Harford County, and the legacy they left, and now we get the benefit for many generations for this beautiful property.
And John, what about the foundation that your mother started all those years ago? What do they do, and what's your role in it?
Well, my role is my mother started the foundation because when the property came into the county, there wasn't as much affinity for historic buildings, let's just call it that. So she started the foundation, and with private investors, they pulled electricity up there, they air conditioned the place. They had corporate sponsors from back in the time with C&P Telephone and Baltimore Gas and Electric and all the rest. And they'd have card parties and everything else to generate money to help preserve the mansion itself and to turn it in eventually what it became the venue of today. Then the tide began to change, but first she had to get public sentiment, so she would walk down to the local elementary school and she would walk kids up the street and give them tours of the mansion, or she'd walk them through Bel Air. And people always commented that she may have started out with 20 elementary school kids because she had been a teacher herself, but she would end up with 4 or 5 adults tagging along behind the 3rd and 4th grade kids listening to the stories and the history of Bel Air. And one of those guys actually works for the county now, and he came back as an electrician helping us out, and he said, I actually came up here when I was in the 3rd grade with an older lady, and I said, well, that was my mother.
Oh, my goodness, wow. And not to be lost is the fact that this man was a man of very deep faith.
exceptionally.
That really shaped his entire life.
It did, and he would argue. He preached quite often. He was Episcopalian, and he would also preach as a traveling preacher when other churches did not have such things. But he also always wanted to know where his money went. So consequently, he wanted to help people immensely. So right beside his house on Utah Place, which was a 5-story house on Utah Place in Baltimore, he had what was called the Kelly Clinic. And let's just say it was for all the ladies of the evening. And back in that day and age, he thought it was a result of poor situational, not having educations, not having the ability to learn, not having the ability to get a proper education. So that's why when he came down from Philadelphia at the grand age of 31, after he'd already built a 500-bed hospital, when he accepted the position into Hopkins, he said he would only accept the position if they allowed women into the medical school as well. And they did they finally acquiesced and let women into the medical school, and he founded the Kelly Hospital for Nurses. And then, like I say, for every one patient he treated up on top of the hill for large sums of money, he would treat 3 for free down in the Kelly.
Wow, amazing, amazing, benevolent man. Mr. Cassilly, how do we find out more about this place and all the great parks and recreational facilities?
Sure. So you can go on our Harford County website, just Google that, and I think you probably have it on the screen, I'm not sure. But we got the web page out there. It's the Liriodendron.com. You spell Liriodendron, then that can be a challenge at times, but Google it, Liriodendron.com, and that'll give you all the information. And look, this is a wonderful, the wedding venue part of this, I really appreciate the foundation has done, because they've made the property largely self-sustaining, this big old mansion house. That financially, you got to pay for that. And so the foundation, I just want to thank them extensively for what they've done, what they have done, the folks who were there before, but the ones that are there now, and really making this property, putting it in a position where we can continue to enjoy this for many generations without overburdening our taxpayers. It's a great system we got going.
Mr. Cassilly, John, thank you both very much. A great,
You're
interesting
welcome.
discussion today. And thank you for watching Inside Harford County, airing exclusively on Harford TV. Please join us again next month. Thanks again for watching. I'm Mark Vernarelli.